Hello everybody, this year's safety stand down will focus on physical fitness. While it is well known that fitness is a big part of the job, this week is a chance to take a closer look at how it impacts your health and to reflect on your own habits. The first training video in our training series focuses on the why fitness matters in the fire service, not just as a requirement, but how it impacts real outcomes like injuries, health, and fireground performance. Think about this scenario for a moment. When the bell hits for an FIB, a firefighter must quickly go from rest to high effort. 1 minute they're doing station chores, and moments later, they can find themselves on the hose line, moving interior to put water on the fire. That fast shift from rest to high intensity work is one of the key demands of the job. It is also a big reason why physical fitness matters, as it is associated with a major health issue in the fire service, which is sudden cardiac arrest. The 2025 NFPA report on firefighter fatalities in the U.S. found that sudden cardiac events were the leading medical cause of line of duty deaths in 2024. This has been one of the leading causes for more than a decade. Key contributing factors include high physical strain, underlying health conditions, and environmental stressors. Low fitness levels and the sudden spike in physical exertion during an emergency response further increase that risk. What the research shows is pretty clear. Physical fitness and cardiovascular health are tightly connected. Firefighters with lower fitness levels tend to have higher rates of cardiovascular disease risk factors like obesity, high blood pressure, and poor cholesterol profiles. Those risk factors directly reduce how well the heart can pump blood and deliver oxygen to working muscle groups. When you combine that with the demands of the job, like high intensity work, heat stress, using heavy gear, and wearing turnouts, it increases the risk of a cardiac event. The bottom line is maintaining strong cardiorespiratory fitness improves not only overall heart health, but it helps manage those risk factors and ultimately lowers your risk for cardiac events on the fireground. So what are the key takeaways when it comes to fitness for overall health? Fitness isn't just about the ability to perform on the fireground. It directly affects long-term health and quality of life. The good news is that many of the biggest risk factors tied to sudden cardiac events can be improved through physical activity and by practicing healthy habits. Your fitness level plays a major role in how well you can handle this job over time and stay healthy throughout your career. As I present more info about health and fitness this week, I hope that you consider the question, what is your strategy to buffer the demands of the job? The conversation on why fitness matters shouldn't stop at heart health. There are plenty of other reasons why it matters, but the next one I want to highlight is about injuries. We'll start with an NFPA report that examined firefighter injuries between 2020 and 2024. They found that the leading causes of injury were exposure to hazards, overexertion or strain, and slips, trips, and falls. The main locations where these injuries occurred were structure, vehicle, and rubbish fires. And the often injured body parts were the low back, the knees, shoulders, ankles, hips, neck, and hands. That NFPA report is comparable to what we have observed at SFD. Strains, sprains, and pains accounted for 67% of the 207 claims that were reported in 2025. When looking at the locations where these injuries took place, we see more specific scenarios such as injuries during exercise at the station gym, or when moving items from point A to point B at the station, lower back strains or pains when lifting patients at an EMS response, smashing hands and fingers during drilling, injuring the ankle or knee from stepping off the rig, and rolled ankles or falls from stepping on hose lines while on scene at a fire. Preventing injuries is challenging because firefighters operate in unpredictable and sometimes high-risk environments. Awareness and good technique when performing the skills matter, but they're only part of the equation. From a fitness standpoint, one of the most effective ways to reduce injury risk is by building strength and overall conditioning. This isn't just about how much weight you can lift, it's about training the body so that it can produce and absorb force with different movement patterns. For what it's worth, there is a belief that a fit individual who gets injured may experience a less severe injury than someone who is less fit. That could mean the difference between an ankle sprain or a torn Achilles when accidentally stepping on a hose line. When talking about conditioning, the conversation should focus on optimizing our energy systems so that way we can efficiently deliver oxygen and fuel to working muscle groups. Another key takeaway is injury history. One of the strongest predictors of future injury is a previous injury. That's why proper recovery and rehabilitation before returning to full duty is so important. Movement quality is another important factor to discuss when talking about injury prevention, but we'll cover that in a different training video. So to wrap it up, when we look at fitness for health and injury risk alone, the connection becomes pretty clear. Fitness isn't separate from the job, it's part of the job. It needs to be prioritized in our day-to-day routine and should not be an afterthought if we want to improve our potential for long-term health, reducing injury risk, and performing when it matters most.